of my time. And Mr. Sherman, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the Chair Lady. I also thank my colleague from Los Angeles for letting me ask questions first. I think it's in the national interest that we have people insured. You can do this by mandates or subsidies or by federal involvement, or you can sit back and watch them be uninsured. The reason that we want to see them insured is apparent to those who are soft-hearted. When the disaster happens, you hate to see people uninsured. No one has ever accused me of being soft-hearted. But if you're hard-hearted, every time we have a major disaster, we have an extraordinary or supplemental appropriation that comes right out of the federal budget, increases the deficit, and so it is in the government's interest to make sure people are insured. That being said, we're here to talk about flood insurance, and I represent a desert. I look forward to seeing how this program can be expanded or used as a model for earthquake insurance. I represent, for example, Northridge. So I'm anxious to see this program work effectively, and even if it costs the federal government something to make sure that people have insurance, both in terms of actuarial cost or in terms of the federal government being involved, providing capital at lower rates, etc. You may say, well, that's federal government involvement we shouldn't have, but I've been here a while, and every time there's a disaster, all of a sudden there's nobody's talking about the deficit, nobody's talking about the growth of the federal government, everybody's talking about how to help people that are uninsured. Ms. Jalek, as you know, the Federal Emergency Management Agency has been going through the process of updating the floodplain maps, and there have been questions about the process of developing the maps and the impact they'll have on local communities. Some homeowners who have never had to buy flood insurance will now have to do so, and homeowners who are currently mandated to buy coverage may not have to in the future, causing confusion in a lot of areas. What would you do to fix the mapping issues, and do you have any thoughts on why the floodplain remapping has been a problem?
That's actually a very good question, and I feel your pain, and I feel the pain of all of the property owners who have been moved to a special flood hazard area. I think that this is something that is being addressed in the bill, and it does need to be explored because there are definitely areas that have been removed from the floodplain that should still be in it. Ms. McCarthy had spoke earlier this morning, she's from Long Island, about structures sitting right on water that were removed from the floodplain, hers being one of them. And there's definitely areas for improvement, for risk mapping. And I feel that the council that has been put together that is mentioned in this bill is an excellent start. And there are many experts who will be able to properly address this issue and lend us all some insight as to how we can come up with better risk mapping than what we currently have.
Thank you. I now have a question for the record that I'd like anyone to respond to after some thought when you go home tonight or tomorrow, or until the record closes. And that is, what should we be doing to make sure that people have the earthquake insurance that they need, both to help them as individuals, to make sure that lenders are willing to loan. You can tell people not to build in a floodplain. You can't tell California not to build near an earthquake fault unless you want to be a 49-state country. So what do we do on earthquake coverage? I'd like to hear your considered views for the record on that, if any of you think you can provide some enlightenment. Thank you. I yield back.